Well, it has changed a lot, really quite considerably. And I'll tell you a few numbers. Basically 10, 11 years ago, 2012, the unemployment in Serbia was above 25%. Youth unemployment was above 51%. We had basically a huge problem with rising public debt. We had a huge problem with the budget deficit, and it just seemed as though Serbia is not moving in the right direction. Then political changes happened. Current President Aleksandar Vučić in 2014 took over the government as the Prime Minister. I joined the government on his invitation in 2016, right straight from the private sector, so I wasn't in the politics, but I saw that he's doing good things for Serbia, and I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to help out. Today, Serbia's unemployment is at about 9%. We have been in the past 7 or 8 years proclaimed by the Financial Times as the world leaders in FDI attraction compared to the size of our economy. We have, in the past 10 years, created over 450,000 jobs. And IT sector became the fastest growing sector of our economy. To the point that in 2021, that's the latest data that we have, in 2021, every second new job created was in the ICT sector. So it really is something that came out of our belief in investing in people, in education, in research and development, and building on something that all of us in the region have, and that is traditionally strong STEM education. But we thought that we should put all of our eggs into that basket and really change Serbia in order to make up for all of the lost time in the 90s, early 2000s. And the change has been unbelievable. It has been amazing. I'll also tell you, the average salary literally doubled in the past 10 years. Yes, in 2017, we made this important decision to introduce coding as a mandatory subject in our primary schools from the 5th grade. That's when kids are 10, 11 years old. And so as of 2017, they learn Scratch and Python, Pygame. And in 2021, we had the first generation of primary school kids leaving school with the knowledge of coding, which has tremendously, I think, impacted not just them. Obviously, we will see the result of that investment in the next few years, but I think their parents, their families, the way they perceive our country and the future of our country. We have also, to couple that, we have introduced and increased specialized IT, number of specialized IT classes in the secondary schools and invested approximately 300 million euros now into tech faculties to increase their capacities, but also into science and technology parks across Serbia. So now we have, we have 4 big science and tech parks that are basically there to promote and support our startup and innovation companies. What has been surprising also is that, I mean, as I said, being kind of a former socialist, communist country, we have traditionally strong STEM education. And so, from that, if you invest, we figured that if you invest even small amount of money into that, you will get quick and big return on your investment. And that is precisely what has happened. In 2019, Startup Genome report is, for the first time, actually also included Serbia in its analysis. And already at that time, we were proclaimed in world top 10 ecosystems in affordable talent and gaming, and I think top 5 in blockchain. And so, you know, it has been almost a generic growth, and what you needed was just the government to actually see that, understand that, recognize it, and invest into it. And as I said, today it's the foremost sector of our economy driving the growth. It has. I will also tell you, I mean, this investment has helped us also, in addition, in parallel with basically helping the economy grow, also helping the average salary grows. It has helped us enormously in reversing the brain drain in Serbia. So we were one of the countries, like everywhere else in the Balkans region, with a huge problem of brain drain. We have managed to reverse it. And so now we have, when you look at the category of highly skilled younger population, we have more of them coming back than leaving the country. So we have managed to reverse the brain drain. There's also more and more foreigners coming to work in Serbia because we have introduced a special tax incentives for those workers that are in deficit, highly skilled tech people, AI people, biotech, life sciences. And so we have more and more of them coming. But also when the war in Ukraine broke out, we have had a lot of inflow of Russian engineers, mostly very young, very skilled, very talented people who either came to Serbia because they were working for Western companies that pulled out of Russia and relocated to Serbia, or Russian IT companies that with Western partners, clients, who have decided that you know, they want to relocate, and then they found Serbia to be the best place to relocate for basically two reasons, to be perfectly honest. One is because we are becoming well known as a good tech destination with a favored business environment and business climate, a lot of government support, a lot of investment in education, but also because I feel that they did not feel welcome elsewhere. Although these young people are mostly really Western oriented, you know, very well educated, against the war. And that is, you know, something that is, I think, lost for Europe, is that that Europe did not feel, that they did not feel welcomed in Europe, but it's a good thing for us, and they brought a lot of knowledge that otherwise we couldn't actually create ourselves, or not quick enough. I would not say that it was a balancing act as such, although it may seem so. It was more of the fact that we needed to, to catch up on all of the lost opportunities and all of the wasted time. And to do that, for a country like Serbia, you need to be open for all of the investors and all of the investments and all of the capital to come in and build the country. And so we were very open, as you have said. Our economy is actually, in that respect, when you look at kind of geopolitics, quite diversified. I would say if you look at, for example, our #1 partner in trade in goods is Germany, by far. The strongest partner and the biggest investor in Serbia. When you look at trade exchange in services, it's the United States. But the biggest exporter from Serbia is a Chinese company that acquired our copper mill. So it is very diversified. But it wasn't purposefully, and it never was a balancing act. It was just openness of our economy and our country to benefit from the capital and investments for the benefit of our people. And I think it was, you know, a smart and pragmatic policies that we pursued. Now, is it getting more difficult? Absolutely. I mean, the world is becoming more and more complicated and more complex place, and it is getting more and more polarized, and it is quite difficult. But what's important is that you have arguments for your policies, and that you explain to people why is it good for your country and for your people, and that it has nothing to do with geopolitics as such, and kind of friends versus enemies. When you look at Western Europe has benefited enormously from Chinese investments. And now when Chinese investments are present in Eastern Europe or in the Balkans, there are some partners from Western Europe who says, well, it's not okay. But we need those investments. What we cannot afford, though, is to be overexposed in terms of public debt. We keep that under control because as of 2014, continuously, as country we have been working with, we have had a standing arrangement with International Monetary Fund, IMF. And so we needed them to be kind of a credible partner who will also oversee our public finances and will testify towards foreign investors or financial institutions that we are a good, solid country on the right track. So I will tell you that there is, in my view, a common misperception that Serbia is kind of neutral in this conflict. And it's not. Serbia has aligned with all of the EU and UN resolutions and declarations which have condemned the Russian aggression of Ukraine. Why? Because we think that it's a clear breach of international law, the attack against other sovereign nation, and that there is a kind of sanctity of territorial integrity of internationally recognized countries that cannot be breached under any circumstances. So in that respect, in terms of values, we are 100% aligned with our EU partners. Sanctions are different because we have been subjected to sanctions back in the 90s. Our people feel strongly against sanctions because our view is that sanctions do not actually diminish countries' capacity or willingness to wage the war, that they hurt those most vulnerable within a population or a country. But we also have to say our people feel frustrated because the territorial integrity of Serbia has been breached. And the double standards is something that puts Serbia into a specific situation. So in terms of our relationship to the Russian Federation, yes, we did not want to introduce sanctions, but we have clearly said that we condemned the aggression, and we were one of the first countries actually in Europe to come out officially, publicly, to say that we are not going to ever recognize the results of the 4 referenda that took place in Ukraine, in Donetsk and Lugansk, that for us, we are not going to recognize it. So, that is something that certainly is impacting, obviously, our relationship with the Russian Federation. But the problem with the world that I see is that in the polarized world, you can't even be neutral, So we're not neutral, but it's either you're fully for or fully against, for someone or against someone. And we have aligned in values, but in terms of sanctions, we do not believe in those sanctions. We've never supplied weapons to either Russian Federation or Ukraine since the aggression started in February 2022. We have quite a strong military industry. Again, traditionally, back from the times of the former Yugoslavia. We sell ammunition mostly, but we sell it to the recognized end users. But that does not include Russian Federation or Ukraine. It is a very difficult process. It is a very emotional process for us. But that is something that has also changed in Serbia with, thanks to, in great part to the President Aleksandar Vučić, who said, listen, we need to have an internal dialogue on this and we need to focus on the future. We owe this to the generation that are coming after us, to the younger generations. And we want to try and find mutually acceptable compromise with Pristina. And 10 years ago, almost exactly to date, actually, it was yesterday, it was 10 years ago since the signing of the first agreement on normalization between Belgrade and Pristina, is also known as the Brussels Agreement. Now, the backbone of the Brussels Agreement was the establishment of the Community of Serb Municipalities, and that was basically the only thing that Pristina needed to do. We have implemented from our side everything that was needed to be implemented by Belgrade or Serbia or Serbs in Kosovo and Metohija. But to date, Pristina still did not form the Community of Serb Municipalities. And so that is, to me, the biggest obstacle for any other agreement. So now we had good discussions, difficult but good discussions, both in Brussels and Ohrid in March. But again, the first thing is the full implementation of the first agreement on normalization, and that is the establishment of the Community of Serb Municipalities. So not to bore this, this group, this meeting, this panel with the details. Really what we need is Pristina to step up its efforts and implement what has been agreed 10 years ago, also guaranteed by the European Union, in order to then go further and implement other agreements. Now, Serbia has a vested interest in regional stability. As I have said, we have done so much to change our destiny and to see clear prospects for the future for our country and our people. But we live in a relatively small, very interconnected region. Any instability will directly negatively affect our prospects and our stability. So we have vested interest to work towards regional stability, and in that respect also are very, very dedicated to this dialogue in order to preserve peace and stability, and we owe it to the younger generation to try and build a more prosperous and different Balkans.